2,000 years ago, during the height of the Narukami, when the Raiden Shogun had conquered the lands of Inazuma at the end of the Archon War. She did so with the help of the yokai, very much like how Morax had the help of the Adepti and the Yaksha. Among these yokai was the Tengu, and among the Tengu was Sasayuri, a general for the Narukami and a friend to Raiden A. He perished during the war with the Sangonomiya, upon which their god was slain. Tengu are known for their speed and their strength in battle, yet a Tengu general was slain, not by a god or a yokai, but a man known as Akuou, or the Wicked King. In order to learn more about Akuou, we have to go back to where it all began. The island of Watatsumi. It rose from the sea, and with it, the serpent god Orobashi. He established relations with Inazuma, and for a time lived in peace with the Narukami. During this time, a shrine maiden and whale song master from the Yuna clan of Watatsumi took on a student who would later be known as Tozano, and even later, Akuou. He was a boy without history. He had no name, no clan, and it is believed that he was simply washed ashore by the sea. Orobashi accepted this child as one of his own, just as he had once accepted the lost people trapped within the depths. The boy then apprenticed himself to the shrine maiden, Mouun, and her sister, Ayame, both of whom were exceptional talents within Watatsumi, making a name for themselves in whale song. Mouun was known for being wise and gentle, and considered to be the greatest master of whale song in history, and was friend to Daikengyo, a giant whale who was lord of whales and narwhals, a whale so big, legends say it could swallow coral islands. Ayame, meanwhile, was known as the Umigozen, the Honorable Ocean. She was famous for being valiant and cheerful, possessing the strength to be able to wrestle fierce sea creatures, a master of battle. The young boy would learn from these two, and would later become the Viceroy of the East, the champion of the Watatsumi Omikami. When the boy had turned into a young man, he was invited by Mouun to swim together amidst the tides lit by moon and stars alike, in the ebb and flow of the entwined light. The young man sensed the words and emotions of the sea creatures, hearing the shrine maiden's gentle, mournful whispers. It was at this moment he had an epiphany. The young man comprehended and created two sword styles known as Getsumon and Yushio. Though he would not have any descendants, these sword techniques would be taught amongst the warriors of Watatsumi and passed down from generation to generation, thus never becoming extinct. In Watatsumi Island, which lacks traditions of swordsmanship, these two styles remain effective and practical techniques that can prove perilous to any foe. He would be so skilled in these sword styles that no mortal could ever vanquish him in a duel or on the battlefield. Years go by and the infertile lands of Watatsumi would cause famine to its people. They would beg their god for aid, but the god could not give them fertile land or food to replenish them. The people would suggest conquering the lands to the east, the lands beheld by the Narukami. But the great serpent knows it would be folly to challenge an Archon to war, so he declined. The famine would get worse and worse though, and the people would beg their god for aid, no longer having a choice, as his people would die out if this continues. He agreed to the folly. The people of Watatsumi raised their banners for war. Mouun, Ayame, and the young man would stand as generals of Watatsumi. They mustered their army whilst Mouun attempted to convince her friend, the Daikengyo, to join the upcoming war, and after 3 days, he agreed, forming a formidable navy of warriors, whales, and narwhals. As the day shifts, the Watatsumi Omikami, alongside his warriors, set off on the eastern expedition, from which there would be no return. The young man, student of Mouun and Ayame, master of the Getsumon and Yushio, would be the fierce vanguard that spearheads the invasion. In a quick, decisive, and bloody attack, they would take the island next to Watatsumi, known as Yashiori Island. and claim it as their own, renaming it to Tozan. Their god would be impressed by the young man's valiant display and would grant him fiefdom over Tozan, earning him the title Tozano, or King of the Eastern Mountain. The original inhabitants of Yashiori were not happy with the sudden and bloody appearance of the invaders, and word quickly spread to the Narukami of the intrusion. Soon, the warriors of the Narukami, led by Raiden A under the guise of the Raiden Shogun, would meet the invaders in open battle. Fierce skirmishes erupted around the island. Tozano, with his peerless skill, would slay many, turning the young man into a hardened warrior. The Watatsumi soldiers that witnessed him in battle would cheer for his valor and strength, but the original inhabitants of the island would see him as a wicked demon who embodies the savage fangs of the great serpent. On the eve of the final battle, Tozano recalled the wish he made before departing the war upon the moon that reflected the waters beside the shrine. One day I shall set myself above Mount Yogo, overlooking the palace of the Lord of Thunder. I will have a joyful showdown against the legendary great Tengu of Yogo upon the roof of Tenshukaku, and then I'll bring the Tengu's mask back to Ayame and Mouun as a souvenir. It would not be long until his wish was granted, for in the decisive final battle, the two gods would finally be locked into a confrontation. Meanwhile, Tozano would be faced with the famed Tengu general of Yogo, Sasayuri. The Tengu are known for their speed, and it was speed that was unmatched by any mortal. But despite this overwhelming advantage of the Tengu, it would be no match for the peerless bladework of Tozano. He would catch the Tengu with his greatsword, and the Tengu's mask, shining like a crimson star, would be shattered like seashore gravel amidst the chaotic battle. For but a moment he thought he had won. That victory was within their grasp. Then the sky roared. The world flashed white. He thought the speed of the Tengu was unmatched until he heard the thunder of lightning. The god that they had put their faith in was judged false by the Musono Hitotachi. Tozano would not have seen his god killed though, for he was caught in the slash, and as the thunder clapped, he no longer existed. With the death of their god and their greatest warrior, the remnant armies of Watatsumi tried to retreat, but despite the death of the Tengu general, he had already laid the groundwork to set up traps to ensure the invaders had no retreat. And one by one, the invaders were slain. Mouun tried to retreat with the Daikengyo, but they too did not realize the plans of the Tengu general and were slain in battle. Ayame was the only one who was able to retreat towards the sea, but was never heard from again. It is unknown if she lived or fell to her wounds. The war of the Watatsumi people and the Narukami was over. The name Tozano would be lost to time, but the people of Yashiori Island would remember him not as a soldier or a peerless warrior, but as a savage, wicked demon of the traitor deity, and he would be called Akuou.